My name is Harper Winslow, and I'm 29 years old. From the outside, my life looked like the kind of feed you scroll past with a vague sense of approval. Steady job in project management at a tech company. Small but bright apartment on the good side of town. A checking account that didn't wheeze at the end of the month. And Noah Bennett, 27, my good guy boyfriend of 2 years, who'd moved in 6 months ago. We had a shared grocery list, a shared laundry basket, and a shared future in theory. He talked about getting a dog once things slowed down, maybe a bigger place when his promotion came through. My mom adored him. My friends said he was solid, reliable, sweet. There was nothing in that carefully balanced life that hinted at the night it would crack open over a cutting board and a half-chopped onion. It was a Tuesday, my favorite kind of ordinary. The apartment smelled like garlic and tomatoes. A show mumbled in the background. Some comfort rerun I'd seen enough times not to really watch. I stood at the kitchen counter, knife moving in an easy rhythm through red bell peppers, the kind of domestic snapshot that makes you think, this is what stability looks like. The door clicked. Noah's footsteps hit the hallway, a little too quick, like he'd rehearsed coming in. "Hey," I called. "You're early. Miracle." He stepped into the kitchen, backpack slung over one shoulder, phone in his hand. His smile was bright, but it didn't reach his eyes. There was a strange shine there, nerves, or excitement, or both. "Harper, can we talk?" he asked, voice too casual. I set the knife down. The way he said it made a thin thread of dread tighten in my chest. People don't say, "Can we talk?" before they tell you they found your favorite ice cream on sale. "Sure," I said slowly. "You're freaking me out, though." He laughed, a little too loud. No, it's nothing bad. It's kind of progressive." He sat at the small table, still clutching his phone like a lifeline. I wiped my hands on a towel and turned to face him. He inhaled. "So, I've been doing a lot of reading lately." That was my first red flag. Noah doesn't do a lot of reading. He scrolls. He watches podcasts on 2x speed. He sends me TikToks with captions like, "This is so us." "About what?" I asked. "Polyamory," he said. "Ethical non-monogamy. Opening up relationships." The words landed one by one, heavy and foreign, like they belonged in someone else's kitchen. He smiled like he was pitching a startup. "I think we should explore it." For a second, I thought he was joking. I actually waited for the grin, the kidding, "You should see your face." It didn't come. "You want an open relationship," I said. "It's not just open," he rushed on. "It's about growth and emotional maturity. A lot of progressive couples are doing it. We're young. Why limit ourselves to outdated social constructs?" He sounded like he'd swallowed a TED Talk whole. My brain tried to catch up. 2 years together, 6 months living in a place that's legally mine, but practically ours. Grocery lists, shared Netflix, his favorite hoodie thrown over my chair. "Where is this coming from?" I asked. "Because 5 minutes ago we were talking about maybe getting a dog." "I've been thinking about it for a while," Noah said. "Just researching. It doesn't mean I love you less. We can still be us and have other connections. It doesn't have to be a threat." My heart was pounding, but not from shock alone. Something underneath his speech felt wrong, polished, preloaded, like he'd said this before, just not to me. "Since when do you research relationship models?" I asked lightly, keeping my voice even. "You hate long articles. You skim the headlines and ask me for a summary." He blinked, thrown for half a second. Then he recovered. "People grow, Harp." He almost never called me Harp. That nickname was reserved for when he wanted something. I studied him. The way his knee bounced under the table. The way he kept glancing at his phone like it might feed him his next line. There was a thin, sour note under all his pretty words, like something burning just out of sight. "Let me think about it," I said. Noah's shoulders slumped in. Relief? Surprise flickered across his face, then a smile. "Really? You'll consider it?" "It's a big change," I said. "I don't want to answer on the spot. I'll sit with it." He stood up, rounded the table, kissed my cheek. His lips were warm, familiar. Suddenly I couldn't stand the feel of them. "You're amazing," he murmured. "I knew you'd be open-minded." He walked down the hall toward the shower, whistling. He left his phone on the table. It buzzed once, then again. I didn't mean to look, but the screen lit up right in my line of sight. "Miss you. Last night was perfect. Can't wait for tomorrow." From a contact saved as study group. Study group's got a heart now, I thought numbly. The onion on the cutting board blurred. My face felt hot, then cold. The room narrowed. around the glowing little rectangle on the table. I didn't touch it. I didn't unlock it. Instead, I picked up the knife again and finished chopping the peppers, each clean, controlled slice, fighting the urge to scream. That night, after he fell asleep beside me with his back turned, breathing slow and easy, I lay staring at the ceiling. Study group. A sudden interest in polyamory. We can still love each other and experience other connections. A memory surfaced, uninvited. A friend's story months ago about her ex. He'd cheated for weeks, then pitched an open relationship to make it retroactively okay. At the time, I'd said, "That's insane." I'd meant it. My phone glowed on the nightstand. I picked it up and opened the group chat with my closest friends. "You guys awake?" I typed. 3 dots from Cass immediately. "Always," she wrote. "What's up?" I took a breath and dumped it all out. The polyamory speech, the research, the study group text with the heart. Her reply was instant. "Harp, I love you, but he's already cheating." My fingers froze over the keyboard. Another message popped up from Jenna, our resident cynic. "Yeah. No one suddenly decides to open a relationship after 2 years out of nowhere. This is cover. He wants permission for what he's already doing." Third friend, Maya. Same. My ex did this. Started talking about ethical non-monogamy after he'd been sleeping with his coworker for a month. Run the playbook in your head. I stared at their messages, nausea rising. The pattern felt too familiar, like I'd accidentally walked into a rerun of someone else's nightmare. "Maybe I'm overreacting," I typed weakly. He said he's been thinking about it. Cass replied, "Girl, study group. With a heart is not a study group." The knife-straight practicality of it punched through the fog. "What would you do?" I whispered into the dark. Jenna's answer came. I'd find out the truth before I agreed to anything. The word truth sat there, heavy and unavoidable. I didn't sleep much. I lay awake listening to Noah's even breathing, the hum of the fridge, the faint traffic outside. Every sound felt too loud. By morning, my decision had calcified into something cold and sharp. If he was going to explore, I was going to verify. At lunch the next day, instead of scrolling my phone at my desk, I sat in a quiet corner of a coffee shop with my laptop open and a knot in my stomach. Private investigator, cheating partner, city name. The search results were depressingly abundant. I clicked through reviews, half expecting some part of me to slam on the brakes. Instead, a detached, practical part took over. The same part of me that builds project timelines and cross-checks budgets. I found a PI with pages of solid reviews, discreet, efficient. Helped me confirm my suspicions, one testimonial read. My chest tightened. I dialed the number before I could talk myself out of it. "Franklin Investigations," a calm male voice answered. "Hi," I said, picking at the cardboard sleeve of my coffee. "My name is Harper. I think my boyfriend might be cheating on me." There was a pause, but not a surprised one. "All right, Harper, why do you think that?" I told him. The polyamory speech, the strange language that didn't sound like Noah, the text from study group, my friends' reactions, the nausea that hadn't left my body since last night. When I finished, Franklin exhaled quietly. "You're not the first person to call me after a sudden, 'let's open our relationship' talk," he said. "And usually your friends are right. How fast do you want answers?" "Fast," I said. My voice didn't shake this time. "As fast as you can." "Give me a week," he said. "Maybe less, depending on how careless he is." Careless. The word lodged in my throat. We went over details. Noah's name, workplace, typical schedule, the nights he was busy, or at the gym, or grabbing drinks with coworkers. The process felt surreal, like I was making an appointment to get my future x-rayed. When I hung up, my coffee had gone cold. I drank it anyway. Bitterness felt appropriate. 4 days later, my phone rang while I was sorting through emails at my desk. Unknown number. My heart sprinted. "This is Harper," I answered. "Harper, it's Franklin," the investigator said. "Do you have a moment to talk somewhere private?" My mouth went dry. "Yeah, 1 second." I grabbed my phone and walked to the stairwell, the place everyone forgot existed. The door closed behind me with a soft thud. The echo of my footsteps on concrete sounded too loud. "I'm here," I said. "Okay," he said, voice steady, practiced. "You might want to sit down." I slid onto the cool step, fingers gripping the railing. "Noah isn't seeing one other woman," Franklin said. "He's seeing 3. The stairwell tilted. For a second, I thought I might actually pass out. 3? I repeated, because my brain refused to process the number. 3 different women, different days, different stories, he confirmed. I've got photos, timestamps, locations, and, this is important, it looks like he's using a shared credit card to pay for a lot of it. My stomach lurched. Shared credit card, our household expenses card. I can send you the full report, Franklin continued gently. But before I do, I need to ask, do you want every detail? I closed my eyes. Behind my eyelids, I saw Noah at our table, saying growth and emotional maturity, while Study Group's heart blinked on his phone. Yes, I said, my voice low but clear. Tell me everything. Franklin didn't rush. First one is a woman named Lila, he said. They met at a coffee shop near your apartment. She's a UX designer. According to what I observed, they meet about twice a week in the evenings. Those are the nights he tells you he's at his networking group. My stomach clenched. Tuesday networking nights. The ones I'd encouraged. Go, make connections, I'd said. I'll heat up leftovers. He walks her back to her place, Franklin continued. They don't go inside right away. There's physical affection, kissing, holding hands. His tone never shifted, but I could hear the careful gentleness. I've got photos and timestamps. I pressed my thumb into the metal of the stair railing until it hurt. Second woman is Brooke, he said. She's a personal trainer at a gym across town. He meets her early mornings a couple times a week. He told you he was doing those boot camp classes, right? A flash of memory. Noah in gym shorts, yawning at 5:30 a.m., me kissing his cheek at the door. I'm proud of you, I'd said. You're really committed. They don't go into a class, Franklin said quietly. They leave in her car, drive to the same hotel off the highway. Always checks in under her name. Stays about 2 hours. Then he heads to work like nothing happened. My throat burned. Third woman is a bartender named Serena, he went on. She works at the place near your building, the one you and Noah go to sometimes. I pictured our usual booth, the neon sign by the bar, the way Noah always seemed to know the drink specials before the server did. They meet after her shift's end, Franklin said. Those are the nights he tells you he's grabbing late-night drinks with the team or when he says not to wait up. I could feel my pulse in my teeth. And this is important, he added. Based on what I observed and the card receipts I pulled, where the numbers match the partial on his wallet, he's been using your shared credit card to pay for a lot of this. Dinners, drinks, hotel stays. I've cross-referenced as much as possible. For a moment, all I could hear was blood rushing in my ears. How long? I asked, barely recognizing my own voice. At least 4 months, Franklin said. Possibly longer, but the pattern is very clear from that point on. 4 months. 4 months of late meetings and boot camps and team drinks. 4 months of telling me he was tired, stressed, needed space, needed understanding. Do they know about me? I asked. That's the kicker, he said, echoing some grim internal script I hadn't realized I'd been bracing for. I checked what I could on their social media, based on overheard conversations and what they post publicly. He paused. Lila thinks he's single. Brooke believes he broke up with his girlfriend recently. Serena believes you're his controlling ex who won't accept that it's over. The word ex sliced through me. He told them I'm his ex, I repeated. Yes, Franklin said. In some versions, a clingy ex. In Serena's case, someone who won't stop texting and shows up places. A laugh ripped out of me, sharp and humorless. I work 60 hours a week and go to bed with a book at 10, I said. I barely show up to my own social life. I know this is a lot, Franklin said. I've documented everything. Photos, videos, where appropriate, screenshots of public posts, receipts. I'm emailing the report now. You'll want some time to go through it. My phone buzzed with an incoming email, even as he spoke. Thank you, I managed. Really. One more thing, he added. If you decide to confront him, my professional advice is, don't do it alone. Not with this much deception. Lean on your support network. And whatever story he tries to spin, remember you have evidence. Evidence. A part of me, the project manager, the woman who color codes Gantt charts and triple checks dependencies, latched onto the word like a lifeline. When I hung up, I sat in the stairwell for a long time, staring at the cinder block wall. I felt oddly hollow, like my heart had already done the worst of the breaking in the days I'd been waiting. And now it was just quietly rearranging the pieces. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Noah. Running late tonight. Don't wait up. Love you. I stared at the tiny red heart for a beat, then tapped open Franklin's email. The report was clinical, brutal in its precision. Photo, Noah and Lila outside the coffee shop, his hand on the small of her back, her head tipped toward his shoulder. Caption, Tuesday, 7:58 p.m. Subject told client he was attending Founders Networking event. Screenshot of our shared card statement. Cafe Nina, $64.23. Another photo. Noah and Brooke walking into the hotel laughing, his hand brushing her hip. Timestamp, Wednesday, 6:42 a.m. Along with subject told client he was attending early boot camp class. Card charge, Sunrise Hotel, $189. Video still, Noah and Serena at the bar a block from our building, his fingers tangled with hers across the table, her head thrown back laughing. Timestamp, Friday, 11:37 p.m. Subject told client he was out with coworkers, advised client not to wait up. Card charge, the corner tap, $92.50. It went on, pages of it. 4 months of him looking me in the eye, telling me he loved me, that he was just tired, that he needed me to trust him, while he rotated through 3 other women, on my dime. By the time I reached the end, my hands were steady, but my vision had that too sharp quality things get before you cry or break something. Instead, I opened our credit card app. I scrolled back 4 months and started marking every unfamiliar restaurant, every hotel, every late-night charge. The total made my breath hitch. Almost $8,000. $8,000 of my credit. My name. My responsibility. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Noah. Seriously, don't wait up. Might crash at Mark's if it goes late. You're the best. I exhaled slowly. Then I did something I knew he would never have predicted. I opened Instagram. Franklin's report had included the names he'd identified. Lila, with her pastel aesthetic and coffee shop selfies. Brooke, all gym mirrors and protein shakes. Serena, tagged in the bar's staff photos. Her profile mostly private but not airtight. I started with Lila. Hey, this is going to sound insane, I typed into her DMs. You don't know me, but we should talk about Noah Bennett. Here's my number if you're willing. I hit send before I could overthink it, then went to Brooke's profile and pasted the same message. Serena was trickier. Her account was mostly locked down, but I knew where she worked, and thanks to Franklin, I knew her schedule. I opened a new group chat in my messaging app and labeled it About Noah. Numbers waited, empty, for now. I set my phone down, walked to the bathroom, and caught my reflection in the mirror. I expected to look wrecked, broken. Instead, my face looked oddly composed. Pale, yes, and a little too still, but there was something new in my eyes, a kind of cold clarity. He wanted growth and emotional maturity, I told the woman in the mirror quietly. He's about to get a crash course. Lila responded first. It was faster than I'd braced for. Just an hour later, while I was staring at the TV without hearing it. Hi, she wrote. I don't know if this is a prank or what, but who are you? I took a breath. I'm Harper, I typed. Noah's girlfriend. We've been together 2 years, living together 6 months. The typing dots blinked, disappeared, blinked again. I'm sorry, she finally replied. That doesn't make sense. He told me he was single. I sent a photo of Noah and me from last week. Me holding a grocery bag, him kissing my cheek in our kitchen. I could see the reflection of my best day mug in the background. The little scene mark popped up almost immediately. Then, oh my God. Another message, we've been seeing each other for 3 months. He said he hadn't been in a serious relationship in over a year. A strange, sharp solidarity cut through the numbness. 3 months, I whispered. Congratulations, you qualify for the support group. Before I could reply, my phone buzzed with a new text. Unknown number. Hey, this is Brooke. I got your message. What's going on? I dropped her into the About Noah group chat with Lila, explaining briefly. I hired a private investigator. He's been seeing all of us. I have proof. The chat went quiet for a long beat. Then Lila. I feel sick. Brooke, wait. I've been with him for about 2 months. He told me he'd just gotten out of something toxic and was finally free. Lila. Toxic? Is that how he describes you? She added, and I could almost hear the fury coiling under the words. I sent them both screenshots of parts of the PI report, carefully cropped images of dates, hotels, the overlapping timelines. Brooke wrote, I'm actually shaking. Lila, what do we even do with this? I stared at the screen, feeling the moment tip from discovery into decision. Give me a day, I typed. Please don't confront him yet. I want to handle this in a way he can't lie his way out of. They both agreed. Maybe some part of them, the part that had believed Noah's practiced boyish charm, needed something undeniable too. That left Serena. For her, I didn't have the luxury of DMs and screenshots first. For her, I walked down to the bar at nearly midnight, heart thudding. Franklin's report printed and folded in my bag like a weapon. The corner tap was half empty, the way it always was on weeknights near closing. The air smelled like beer and citrus, and the same neon sign bathed the bar in blue. Serena stood behind the counter, drying glasses. Up close, she looked younger than in the grainy photos, tired but warm, the kind of person you'd trust with your worst day over a drink. "Hey," she said when I sat on a stool. "Kitchen's closed, but I can do drinks." "I'm good," I said. My hands were wrapped too tightly around the strap of my bag to drink anything. "Actually, I was hoping to talk to you about someone." Her eyebrows lifted. "That's usually my line." I swallowed. "Can I ask, do you know a guy named Noah Bennett?" I kept my tone as neutral as I could. Her face changed instantly, guarded, then wary. "Who's asking?" I pulled out my phone and held up the same photo I'd sent Lila, Noah kissing my cheek in our kitchen. Even in the bar's dim light, I saw the recognition hit. "I'm his girlfriend," I said quietly. "We live together." She stared at the photo, then at me. Her jaw worked. "He told me you were his ex," she said finally. Her voice had that flat, stunned quality mine had had days ago, that you wouldn't leave him alone, that you kept calling and showing up. "Yeah," I said. "That's not what's happening." I slid the folded report from my bag and placed it on the bar. "He's been seeing you and 2 other women while coming home to me, using my credit card to fund most of it." She unfolded the first page, eyes scanning. Her fingers tightened on the paper. "Is this a PI report?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "I hired one when he came home and gave me a speech about opening our relationship. Polyamory, growth, all that." Serena's laugh was sharp and bitter. "He told me his ex tried to trap him into moving in," she said. "That you were clingy and wouldn't accept that he didn't want something serious." The absurdity of hearing my own relationship rewritten in someone else's mouth made me dizzy. "I guess clingy ex doesn't sound great next to has a whole apartment in her name and a joint credit card I've been abusing," I said. Serena shook her head slowly, eyes never leaving the report. "How long?" "At least 4 months," I said, "maybe more." She closed the file with a quiet finality and looked at me. "What do you want to do?" she asked. I took a breath. The plan had crystallized somewhere between the stairwell and this bar. It felt ruthless and inevitable. "I want all of us in the same room," I said. "No more hiding, no more versions. I want him to walk into a situation he can't spin his way out of. You, me, the others." Her mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "You're not messing around." "No," I said. "I'm really not." She thought for a moment, then nodded. "Tell me when and where," she said. "I'll be there." When I left the bar, the night air felt different, sharper. The city lights looked the same, but I felt like I'd just stepped out of someone else's dream and back into my own life. By the time I got home, I'd already created a group chat labeled Foreclosure. 4 names waited in it. Mine, Lila's, Brooke's, Serena's. Tomorrow Noah thought he had one of his networking nights. Tomorrow he was going to find out what it looked like when the people he'd been lying to compared notes and receipts. The next day, watching Noah get ready felt like watching an actor move through a set I'd paid for. He stood at the dresser, putting on the shirt I'd ironed last weekend, humming under his breath. His phone buzzed on the nightstand, screen turned instinctively away from me, and he picked it up just a little too fast. "You heading out?" I asked from the doorway, arms folded against the frame so he wouldn't see my hands shake. "Yeah," he said, slipping the phone into his pocket. "Networking thing tonight. You remember." Of course I remembered. I'd built the calendar that made it possible for him to lie. "Right," I nodded. "Late one?" "Probably," he said, leaning in to kiss my forehead. "Don't wait up. Seriously, if it goes past midnight, I might just crash at Mark's. You know how those guys are once they get talking." He laughed. "Yeah," I said, "I know." He didn't notice the way my voice had flattened, or maybe he did and decided not to ask. He grabbed his keys and headed for the door. "I love you," he called, like a reflex. "Love you too," I answered automatically. The lock clicked. Silence dropped over the apartment like a curtain. I exhaled slowly, then picked up my phone and opened the Foreclosure group chat. "He's on his way to you," I typed to Lila. "I'll meet you in your lobby at 8. "Brooke, Serena, you good?" "Brooke, yep. Already in the neighborhood. I don't want to see him alone in case I hit him with a dumbbell." "Serena, got off early. I'm in. This is going to be wild." My chest tightened, not with fear anymore, but with a kind of cold purpose. "Let's do this," I wrote. The lobby of Lila's building was all glass and polished marble, the kind of sleek downtown place Noah had always joked we'd afford after his big promotion. Big. Lila sat on one of the minimalist gray couches, twisting a ring around her finger. In person, she looked softer than her carefully curated photos, less filtered, more real. Brooke stood beside the elevator bank in athleisure, her hair pulled into a messy knot, jaw clenched. Serena leaned against a pillar, arms folded, eyes flinty. We must have looked like some kind of support group, summoned by bad decisions. "Harper?" Lila asked when she saw me approach. "Yeah," I nodded. "Hi." We just looked at each other for a beat. Unnatural awkwardness, mixing with a strange, immediate solidarity. Then she stood and, to my surprise, pulled me into a quick, fierce hug. "This sucks," she said into my shoulder. "Yeah," I agreed. "It really does." Brooke blew out a breath. "Okay," she said. "Game plan?" "Franklin says he told Noah to meet Lila here at 8, I said. "We don't jump him. We don't scream over each other. We just let him walk into the truth. I'll start. You fill in your parts if you want, or don't. Whatever feels right." Serena's mouth curved into a humorless half-smile. "Oh, I'm absolutely filling in my part," she said. "The man lied on my bar stools." A laugh sputtered out of me, sharp and shaky. It cut the tension just enough. The elevator dinged somewhere above us. My heart kicked hard against my ribs. "Whatever happens," I added, surprising myself with how steady I sounded, "remember this. None of this is on us. We were giving what we thought we had. Honest relationships. He was the one splitting himself into 4 people. What happens next is not our shame to carry." Lila swallowed and nodded. Brooke rolled her shoulders back like she was psyching herself up for a competition. Serena straightened. The lobby doors slid open. Noah walked in, scrolling his phone, thumbs moving quickly. He looked up, searching for Lila. When he saw her, his face lit into that familiar easy grin. "Hey," he started, and then his gaze shifted, landed on me. The smile died. His steps faltered, shoes squeaking faintly on the marble. "Harper?" he said. His voice cracked halfway through my name. "What are you—" Then he saw Brooke, then Serena. His eyes darted between them, then back to me. The color drained from his face. The 4 of us stood in a loose arc, watching him without speaking. For once, the silence wasn't awkward. It was heavy, deliberate. It belonged to us. "Hi, Noah," I said, my voice calm in a way that felt unreal. Funny place for a networking event. He opened his mouth, closed it. His gaze flicked to the front desk, like he might bolt. Then he seemed to remember his charm and pasted on a shaky smile. "Okay, this is weird," he said. "What's going on? Harp, did you follow me?" "Harp," Serena repeated under her breath, rolling her eyes. "You've been busy," I said, ignoring the question. "I thought it might be time your extracurricular calendar compared notes." Lila stepped forward, her phone clutched in her hand like a lifeline. "You told me you were single," she said, voice trembling but clear. "You said you weren't ready for anything serious, that you liked how low pressure this was." Brooke's jaw flexed. "You told me," she added, "that you'd just gotten out of a toxic relationship, that your ex tried to trap you into moving in and you needed someone drama-free." Serena let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "You told me she tipped her head toward me, was your stalker ex who couldn't accept that it was over, that you were staying with her for a while because she'd have a meltdown if you moved out too fast." Noah looked at each of them like he'd never seen them before. His eyes darted back to me. "This is insane," he said. "Harper, what did you—" I pulled the printed PI report from my bag and let it drop onto the low-glass coffee table between us. The pages splayed, photos and timestamps flashing like an ugly collage. "It's documented, Noah," I said quietly. 4 months, 3 other women, $8,000 on our shared card for dates and hotels and drinks, while you came home to me and talked about polyamory and growth." His gaze landed on one of the photos, him and Lila outside the coffee shop, his hand on her back, and widened. "You hired a PI?" he asked, as if that were the most outrageous part. "Yes," I said. "After you tried to sell me on an open relationship you were already living. I wanted to know whether I was actually being asked to grow or just being asked to fund your double life." His mouth opened and closed. He flailed for a script that wasn't there. "Okay," he said finally, running a hand through his hair. "Okay, I messed up. I'll admit that. But I was trying to find a way to be honest. That's why I brought up polyamory. I was trying to include you in—" "Don't," Brooke cut in sharply. "Do not connect what you've been doing to ethical non-monogamy. I know people who actually do that, and they start with consent, not months of lying and theft." Lila nodded, eyes glassy but fierce. You don't get to call this evolving past monogamy, she said. You were just cheating with a vocabulary. Serena snorted. And stealing, she added. Don't forget the stealing. Noah's head snapped toward her. Stealing? Yeah. I folded my arms. You remember that credit card? The one we agreed was for groceries, utilities, shared house stuff? Not for boutique hotel mornings and espresso martinis with your study group? His jaw clenched. We're in a relationship. Shared finances are normal. You can't call it stealing if... I can when I have a lawyer who disagrees with you, I interrupted. He calls it fraud. So does the law. For the first time, real fear flickered in his eyes. You talked to a lawyer? He asked. Several, I said. Funny thing happens when you have detailed documentation. People take you seriously. The lobby was painfully quiet. Even the concierge pretended to be deeply invested in his computer screen, ears obviously straining. Noah turned in a slow circle, taking us in like he was dizzy. Look, he said finally, dropping his voice into that soft, coaxing register he used when he wanted to diffuse me. Harper, can we just step outside? Talk about this? Just you and me? This is humiliating. It's not what you think. I felt a strange calm settle over me, like a storm that had finally wrung itself dry. No, I said. We're not stepping outside so you can give me version number 4 of your story. We're doing this here, with the people you lied to in the room. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he'd only ever seen the version of me that smoothed things over and double-checked our autopays. I love you, he blurted. Okay, I love you. I made mistakes, but... Mistakes are forgetting an anniversary dinner, I said quietly. Picking a fight when you're stressed. 4 months of lying, rewriting my existence as toxic ex, and running up thousands on my credit card is not a mistake. It's a system. One you built on purpose. His eyes shone suddenly, and for a second I wondered if he might actually cry. He took a step toward me, hand outstretched. Where am I supposed to go? He demanded. I don't have anywhere else lined up. I mean, you're just going to throw me out? Yes, I said. The word surprised even me, with how simple it was. Your name isn't on the lease, I continued. You've been a guest in my apartment, a guest who's worn out his welcome and then some. Your stuff will be packed by tomorrow. You can pick it up between noon and 4. After that, the locks get changed. Harper, he said, voice sharp with disbelief. You can't just... I can, I said, and I am. He looked around, searching for someone to back him. Lila's arms were crossed, her mouth a hard line. Brooke stared at him like she was calculating how many reps she could get out of throwing him down a flight of stairs. Serena's expression had settled into a kind of cool contempt. What about us, Noah? Lila asked softly. Or did you plan to give us some kind of group speech, too? He swallowed. I don't know what to say. Try goodbye, Serena suggested. He flinched. I hate all of you, he snapped suddenly, desperation curdling into anger. You had no right to go behind my back like this, to spy on me, to ambush me. Noah, I said, you don't get to talk about rights when you've been living in my home, sleeping in my bed, and charging your hotel mornings with 3 other women to my card. His face twisted. For a second, I saw the person he really was beneath all the boyish charm. You'll regret this, he muttered. You're throwing away someone who loved you. No, I said. I'm throwing away someone who loved having options. We stared at each other for a long, tense moment. Then he huffed out a breath, turned on his heel, and stomped out of the lobby, shoulders tight. The glass doors slid shut behind him with a soft hiss. Silence flooded in. For a few seconds, none of us moved. I felt oddly weightless, like my body hadn't caught up with what had just happened. Then Brooke exhaled a shaky laugh. That, she said, was brutal and incredibly satisfying. Serena shook her head slowly, lips quirking. I've seen some messy scenes at the bar, she said, but that might be top 5. Lila sank back onto the couch, covering her face with her hands for a moment. When she dropped them, her eyes were bright but steady. Thank you, she said to me. If you hadn't said anything, I'd still be buying his I'm just not ready for labels crap. Same, Brooke said. I might have actually believed him about the toxic ex. Sorry about that, by the way. I shrugged, feeling a tired, ironic smile tug at my mouth. I've been called worse, I said. At least now we all know who the actual toxin is. We exchanged numbers properly, outside of a crisis group chat this time. There was talk of drinks, sometime when this feels less raw. Maybe it never would, but the idea felt less impossible than it had yesterday. When I finally stepped back out into the night air, the city hummed on like nothing had happened. Cars passed. Someone laughed on the corner. Somewhere, Noah was rewriting this story to cast himself as the victim. But for once, I didn't feel compelled to rush in and correct the narrative. I had my own to rewrite. Back at the apartment, packing his things was strangely efficient, robotic. I pulled his clothes from my closet space, folded them into boxes, gathered his toiletries from the bathroom, his chargers from the power strips he'd colonized, his random tangled cords. Every object had a memory attached, but instead of cutting, they landed like facts. Here is the sweater he wore on the night he told me he couldn't believe how lucky he was. Here are the shoes he wore to the bar where he met Serena. Here is the watch he checked while he told me he didn't have time for date night because of work. In the back of my nightstand, I found something that made my fingers still. His notebook. A black, unassuming moleskin I'd seen him scribble in while he watched videos or sat on the couch. I'd assumed it was ideas, to-do lists, half-baked business plans. For a moment, I considered leaving it closed. Then I thought about study group and $8,000 and being called a stalker. I opened it. Most of it was nonsense. Doodles, half-serious app ideas, lists of things he wanted to buy once money wasn't so tight. But near the back, there was a page that made my skin prickle. Poly pitch, it was labeled in his messy handwriting. Underneath, bullet points. Talk about growth, emotional maturity. Use ethical non-monogamy, evolving past outdated constructs. Emphasize love isn't a finite resource. If she resists, reassure. It doesn't mean I love you less. Bonus. If she agrees, no need to hide anything anymore. And circled. If caught, say you were trying to find honest way to include her. My vision tunneled. On the next page, another header, money. Shared card equal household expenses. Easier to justify dinners, treating clients, team nights. Nice. Hotels. Infrequent, scattered, won't stand out. Under that, an almost offhand line. If worst comes to worst, she's too nice to press charges. I stared at that sentence until the words blurred. Too nice, too trusting, too willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. The part of me he'd counted on was the part of me I was most proud of. The one that chose compassion, that believed people meant what they said. He'd read that as weakness. I closed the notebook and set it on top of the box. A piece of evidence he'd never meant to create. Then I picked up my phone and opened my email to my lawyer. Subject, additional documentation. I attached photos of the notebook pages, along with the latest tally of the unauthorized charges. Send. The whoosh of the email leaving my outbox sounded like something small but important clicking into place. This wasn't going to be just a breakup. It was going to be a line, one that said, "You can't rewrite my reality and drain my accounts and walk away with nothing but a sad story to tell." Consequences weren't cruelty, they were clarity. And I was done being his ballast while he tried to see how many holes he could punch in the boat.